The life and sad ending of Margaret Whiting. Margaret Whiting was born Margaret Eleanor Whiting on July 22, 1924, in Detroit. She began singing as a small child and by the age of 7 signed with Johnny Mercer, the popular songwriter and founder of Capitol Records, for whom her father worked. Margaret Whiting was a dominant pop singer in the 40s and 50s, with a clear, striking voice and the kind of quasi-innocent sensibility that worked on such songs as It Might As Well Be Spring and Moonlight in Vermont. The daughter of a composer, Richard Whiting, her aunt, Margaret Young, was a Brunswick Records recording artist of the 30s. Whiting began singing as a small child, and by the age of 7 she was working with Johnny Mercer, the popular songwriter and founder of Capitol Records, for whom her father worked. When Mercer and 2 partners launched Capitol, Margaret Whiting was one of their first signings. Whiting started recording for the label in 1942, her first major hit being the Mercer Harold Arlen composition That Old Black Magic, as a featured singer with Freddie Slack and his orchestra. That was followed in 1943 by Moonlight in Vermont, with Whiting signing as a member of Billy Butterfield's orchestra, and It Might As Well Be Spring with Paul Weston and his orchestra from the film musical State Fair. Whiting first recorded under her own name in late 1945, singing the Jerome Kern Oscar Hammerstein II composition All Through the Day, which became a bestseller in the spring of 1946, and In Love in Vain, both of which were featured in the film Centennial Summer. Whiting also had hits with songs from the Broadway musicals St. Louis Woman and Call Me Mister in 1946. Those first recordings under her name were recorded in New York. In late 1946, Whiting returned to California and began recording there with Jerry Gray and his orchestra. Guilty and Oh But I Do were the best-selling fruits of that session. Whiting's hit streak continued in 1948 and 1949. Owing to a musician strike in the USA, orchestral tracks were recorded outside of the country and vocals added in U.S. studios. Whiting supplied vocals to tracks cut by Frank DeVol and his orchestra, including A Tree in the Meadow, a #1 hit in the summer of 1948, recorded in London. Her next #1 occurred in 1949 with Slipping Around, one of a series of duet records made with country film star Jimmy Wakely. Also during that year, Whiting recorded a duet with Mercer, Baby, It's Cold Outside. In 1950, she had a hit with Blind Date, a novelty record she made with Bob Hope and the Billy May Orchestra. Whiting continued recording for Capitol into the mid-50s, until her run of hits dried up. She left the company in 1958 for Dot Records, but achieved only 1 hit on that label. She switched to Verve Records in 1960 and recorded a number of albums, including one with jazz vocalist Mel Torme. A brief return to Capitol was followed by a hiatus, after which Whiting signed to London Records in 1966, for whom she recorded her last 2 charting pop singles. Going through life full of difficulties, especially in love affairs, Whiting was married 4 times and had 1 child, Hubel Robinson Jr., a writer, producer, and television executive, married December 29, 1948, divorced August 18, 1949. Lou Bush, a ragtime pianist, known as Joe Fingers Carr, divorced, 1 daughter, Deborah, born 1950. John Richard Moore, a founder of Panavision, married in 1958 to divorce. Jack Wrangler, the 1970s and 1980s gay pornography film actor, married in 1994 when Whiting was 70 and he was 48, until his death from emphysema on April 7, 2009. Her recordings continued to appear on the easy listening charts until the 70s. Whiting was still recording in the early 90s and performing in cabaret and concerts. She died at the Actors Fund home in Englewood, New Jersey, on the 10th of January 2011 at the age of 86. Everything seems like it was just yesterday. Life will not stop changing. Everything will not be easy for us. Thanks for all she did.